Hello all, James here. Now, I promised my missus that I absolutely wouldn't be working this weekend, but it's Valentine's Day coming up and I really need to make some content and save up. But that being said, this brings us to LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre again. Now, Drew McIntyre has moved to WWE Smackdown and would wrestle in a triple threat match yesterday, as I record this, with the aforementioned LA Knight and Jimmy Uso for a place in the WWE Elimination Chamber to see who gets the title shot at WrestleMania. Now, at the beginning of the match, there's about a 10-second sequence where LA Knight and Drew McIntyre go off script, and people on social media have been asking, was it real? Obviously not. It wasn't real at all. We will watch that video in a second, but very briefly for those who don't know the story. Last weekend at the Royal Rumble saw a minor mishap and a collision in the ring between LA Knight and Damian Priest. Now, Priest, Drew and Jey Uso were going for a three-person elimination sort of thing, which would ultimately see Drew get thrown out. And then LA Knight and Logan Paul were still in the middle of the ring, finishing up their deal and their interaction, and everything was a little bit rushed. A minor bump between LA Knight and Damian Priest, and then Drew still gets eliminated as planned, but then everything looks a little herky-jerky, and the focus is partially off of Drew, so it's not as impactful as it could have been. So it was reported that Drew McIntyre pitches a bitch backstage, saying that LA Knight was too busy trying to get himself over and to get his stuff in. How many times have you heard that? At the expense of the match. Now, i.e. taking focus off Drew's elimination. So my contention was that it was actually Drew's fault because he and co rushed his spot and didn't wait for LA Knight and Logan Paul to do their thing and move out of the way to clear the ring for them. I'll link the video in the pinned comment if you're interested in the deeper dive of that. But then the internet goes crazy. My video does over 200,000, it's like 212, 215,000 views, which still blows my mind, quite frankly. And then Drew migrates over to SmackDown, and Drew and LA Knight are immediately put together in a match. Right before the triple threat match, Drew talks about being happy he's not on Raw anymore, Jimmy comes out and says whatever he says, and then LA Knight wanders out to discuss men's mental health, and then how he's going to beat them both, but then he adds this little bit of rhetoric in for the internet fans referencing Drew's alleged backstage blow-up and LA Knight doing too much stuff.
Oh wait, I forgot to get my stuff in. Memphis, tell him whose game this is!
And then on to the match, which is joined in progress. So, some 30 seconds in, LA Knight is kicking Jimmy Uso in the corner when Drew slaps Knight in the back of the head. LA Knight immediately turns around and gives Drew it looks like a punch to the face, but he opens his hand, so it's a slap to the face. And then both of them roll around on the floor for a few seconds before Jimmy breaks it up. That's not a real fight. They aren't shooting on one another at all, no doubt in my mind. So we're going to go to the video and go it frame by frame. Drew is walking behind. He gives LA Knight a slap to the back of the head, and then LA Knight gives a quite rapid punch back. But I think for some people this was a cue that it was real. I'm going to say it wasn't because, one, there are tons of slaps in wrestling. Let's reverse it one more time. Slap. I mean, there are a ton of slaps in wrestling all the time. That's if Drew was really going to turn up and hurt him, I mean, for God's sake, he would have punched him in the back of the head or elbowed him in the back of the head. A slap, like a paintbrush, is not going to exactly, gain him a massive advantage if he was really going to try and start a real fight. And then LA Knight here goes for a punch, and it's a great-looking punch, no doubt about it, but his hand is open the entire way. I mean, yeah, maybe he's a slap for a slap kind of thing, but he's doing it in a safe place. You can see he's looping round quite a lot. I mean, actually, from that pause, it looks like it catches him in the ear, but if nothing else, no, I'm absolutely convinced that's a working punch. They do a very quick sort of grapple to the floor here, and then here's the next bit. So they start trying to, I think Drew sort of almost tries to take his back kind of thing, but somehow that clue people in, oh, it must be real then. But just beforehand, Drew actually does some punches to the back, which I think some people took for real somehow. It's there we go, that is it. I mean, we'll get to the end bit just in a second, but that is it. I mean, who could, if anyone knows about fighting or no holds barred or just street fighting or whatever, what you do not do is club them in the safest part of the back. You know what I mean? It's really obvious that it's they're working. They're trying to make it look a bit more real, a bit more stiff, obviously. But that is the safest place that you can forearm someone in the back. I mean, if you're going to do a real fight, for goodness sake, there's a million things you would do. I don't know if you could do it, but you would elbow the ribs, or you punch them in the ribs, or if you get a bit of space with the head, you'd punch them in the head, or you'd stand up slightly, or knee them, or try and take their arm and neck and sort of pin them down and then work from there. This is a work. Oh, is all I can tell you. And then Jimmy breaks it up.
This is ugly as hell.
So they work the rest of the match with absolutely no problems. Not that they probably had any real problems before the match started anyway. I mean, if this is a genuinely volatile situation, I'll guarantee that WWE or Triple H or whoever else is going to be doing the matchmaking, that match would never have been booked. They would have been kept apart until it was worked out. They worked together fine, and LA Knight took the pin at the end of the match clean via a Claymore kick to the back of the head. I mean, the match goes like 12-15 minutes, and this happens in the first 30 seconds, and then the rest of the match is absolutely fine, absolutely no problems between them whatsoever. So it's no doubt in my mind that that's just a planned bit that they did for the beginning. My guess is that Drew McIntyre's blow-up backstage at LA Knight was real, but when he calmed down and then saw the footage and then realised it wasn't a big deal whatsoever, and in my opinion, it was still partially his fault, and it's just one of those things, you know, nothing goes perfectly. So WWE writers, as I say, aren't stupid. They see what the fans are saying. They see what commentators such as I are saying. They listen to the podcasts, I'm sure, as well, just to gauge what the fans are talking about. So I guess they added this little bit in, including the little promo at the beginning, for a little bit of intrigue for the internet fans for the match. That's it. Sorry if you're unsure, but that's my opinion. Normally it's fun to play along with these kinds of things, but this one's just too obvious to me that it's just not real. No, I just can't agree that, you know, not even remotely getting towards real. It's just a bit of fun for the fans, and then they settled into the match and then just did the match. So there you go. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you tomorrow for the MJF video that I promised yesterday. Goodbye.